Raising venture capital is an entrepreneur's dream. Venture capitalists will literally pay you to build your company, build your dreams, build your success. They fund it all. But the right tactics and techniques will decide if you're in the club or outside of the club. However, fundraising can be a bit of a black box. You see, if you don't know exactly what you're doing, the chances of you raising capital are basically zero. And unfortunately, the advice that you typically see on the internet is written by people that have never actually raised venture capital. To put it bluntly, they simply don't know what they're doing and they don't know what works. So in this video, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna give you exactly how to build the perfect seed stage fundraising deck in just 8 slides. Let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is Micaiah. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built a bunch of businesses from solo bootstrapped to venture backed. My last startup actually raised $21 million from top tier venture capitalists such as Tribe Capital, 8VC, and Battery Ventures. So I've been around the block. I've done this a few times and I'm here to share what I've learned. So the first slide that you want to have in your pitch deck is what's called the problem slide. The problem simply outlines what is the problem that your startup is looking to solve. And it's also a bit of an introduction into your business, into the market that you're playing in. And so the way you want to do your problem slide is you want to try to boil it down into one core problem. What a lot of people do is they have 5 problems and their startup's going to solve all 5 and they're going to fix everything. That doesn't work. You want to have one key insight into a market, ideally something that's a little non-obvious, that you're teaching the venture capitalist, hey, here's something new that you hadn't thought of that is a real problem for this many people. And you want to tee this up and make it as painful as possible, make it obvious that if someone was able to solve this, they would have a real business. Which brings me to my second slide, the solution slide. What comes right after the problem slide, really simple, you're gonna outline how you solve this problem. Now, if you're just starting out or if you're at the seed stage, it could be how you intend to solve this problem. But the thing that you wanna make sure you do is you wanna paint an ideal future state picture. The last thing you wanna do is say, here's how we solve the problem today. And yeah, the software sucks. We have one half-time developer and sorry that the design's not very good because we don't have a graphic designer, but this is how we solve it. You want to paint the ideal scenario. Now, you're not lying, but you are helping show vision to the venture capitalist or the angel investor that you're raising from. And this can apply to stereotypical B2B businesses where plumbers can't make appointments easily, so we build software that helps plumbers make appointments, or consumer products. Something like Facebook would have said, you know, people don't feel connected, and as they become more global, as they move around, they don't have a way to stay in touch with friends. We're building a social network that connects them. Anything you're building is solving someone's problem, whether it's a social media app, whether it's a photography company, you name it. There's a problem in the market and you're looking to solve it. So your solution slide simply solves the problem that you just painted in your problem slide as being a real pain in this market. Now the third slide you should have in your deck is what I call the proof points or the raving fans of your solution. So if you have live customers, the easiest way you can do this is just ask them for quotes, slap them in the deck. If you have good metrics as in growth of your revenue or growth of your user base, this is where you put that. What you're doing is you're showing that the problem solution that you've outlined works. You've identified a problem that matters. You've identified a solution that hits the target. And now you're showing, look, see the growth, see the raving fans, see the testimonials. We've hit something. We've figured out a way to actually solve this problem and people love it. Now, since this is a seed stage deck, you may have a little bit of revenue or maybe your metrics don't look great. Just put in the best things you can to prove that you've solved this problem. Now, the fourth slide you want to have is your business model. And your business model is both a combination of reality today and also where you plan to go with the business. So let's say you're charging $5 a month today because you only have these 3 features, but in the future, you think you can charge $50 a month. You want to outline that on this slide. Keep it simple, don't get into lots of complicated details, but you can simply say an average user pays $5 today. That's our basic plan. In 18 months, we're rolling out silver and gold, and that will be, $35 a month and $50 a month, and here's why they'll pay more. You're just showing the venture capitalist you have an idea of how this business makes money and how that money grows over time. This is really important. Even if you don't have any money, any revenue today, you just need to show the venture capitalist that you're thinking about it so that they can get into your brain a little bit, see how you're thinking about it, and then also see if it's something that they can help with. The next slide, you're gonna tie that in is your market size. And the market size slide is where you'll do what's called a bottoms-up TAM. TAM stands for total addressable market. And when venture capitalists invest in a company, what they're generally looking for is a market that is $2 billion or more. It's just the way venture math works. If you have a small market where your max revenue is $500 million or $600 million, they can't actually invest in that startup because it's just too small of an outcome for the fund. And so the way you demonstrate that is you're gonna do some very basic math. The first input in your formula is simply how many customers are there in the market that you're targeting that would buy your software. And then you're gonna multiply that by the maximum amount any customer would pay in your market. And the outcome of that is your bottoms up total addressable market. Now, it doesn't mean that you'll get all of those customers in your market, but it does show how much you could get if you got all of them. And this should be represented as a yearly number. So if it was $50 a month, you're gonna multiply that by 12, so it's $600 a year, and then multiply that. And again, to raise venture capital, this number needs to be over $2 billion. Now, if it's not over $2 billion, there are a few things you can do. One, go back to your business model and reevaluate it and say, is there something that we can change to make this become a multi-billion-dollar company? Can we charge more? Can we expand to different markets? What I've often seen people do is they say, listen, our current market is $720 million. That's our beachhead market. That's where we're starting. Once we conquer that market, we're going to expand into this market, and this market, and this market. And over the next 5 years, our TAM will grow from 720 million to call it $5 billion. And so that sort of checks the box, lets the venture capitalist know I can invest in this business. So now that you've established there's a real problem, you have a solution that works, you have a business model that actually makes you money, and the market, if you win, is large enough for venture outcomes, i.e. multi-billion-dollar outcomes, it's time to talk about the competition. Most people get the competition slide wrong. They do this stupid thing that I always see, which is a quadrant, and all the competitors in the bottom left, they all suck, and you're in the top right. You're the best company in the space. This doesn't actually provide any useful information. You see, venture capitalists don't care if you have competitors. It's actually generally a good thing. What they want to see is, why are you different? And so sure, you can do the quadrant, but the quadrant doesn't really give a ton of information. What I would rather do is do a breakdown of the top 2 or 3 competitors, why they're failing, why you think there's opportunity, and how you really differentiate yourself and stay differentiated. This is where you also want to add in a little bit of your moat, so that if someone comes and copies your business, copies your product, they can't just do the exact same thing you're doing and take all your customers. You want to have some sort of competitive advantage and some defensive edge around that advantage. And this is a slide where you put that in. So after the competition slide, it's finally time to talk about yourself. It's the team slide. The team slide is one of the most important slides at the seed stage, but we've kept it a little later because you want to lay out the story so that when you talk about your team, it should make it obvious why you're the team to take on this story. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They might be doing an AI startup and they're doing big data and blah, 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 and all these really fancy sort of trendy topics. But then you go to their background and one worked in sales at some, Best Buy, and then the other one has a computer science degree, but they've never touched AI. It doesn't really work because what happens is you have a business that the VC wants to invest in, but maybe you're not the team to do it. And so the team side can make or break your rate. What you want to do is find a way to cherry pick the most important things about your background that are either impressive or demonstrate to the VC that you're the right person for this business or you're the right team for this business. And so a brief personal example, my last company was in the car dealership space, and I have never worked in a car dealership. I've never sold cars for a living. I have no family members in the car dealership space. I didn't know anything about the car dealership space. So when I was starting out, my team slide sucked. It talked about how I had a computer science degree, how I'd worked in marketing, but it didn't have any tie into auto. And VCs would tell me, listen, I love what you're doing, but I don't think you're the right team to build it. What I started doing was weaving into the team slide my love for auto, my love for cars. I had pictures of me with cars, pictures of me working on my cars in college. I told them how I ran the car club in college, how I bought 9 cars while I was in college. I really walked them through how I was the right person to build this business. And then I also listed my achievements to show them that I was, smart enough, capable enough to actually do it. So your team slide isn't just about your team, it's about why you are the right team to tackle this specific business. So make sure that comes across clearly when you're building your team slide. Now, the last slide that you want to build is your projections, your use of funds. It's basically showing the venture capitalist, hey, if you give us this money, here's what we want to do over the next 18, 24 months. At the seed stage, I wouldn't recommend projecting farther out than 2 years. Some VCs will ask for 3 years, 5 years. This is frankly a good opportunity to remind them, hey, we're a seed stage company, so look at us like a seed stage company. Don't expect us to have a 5-year plan like we're some IPO company. When this happens, a little bit like you need to, I don't want to say put the VC in their place, but like you need to set the right context for the meeting. They might have just been looking at a Series C, company that's about to IPO, and their mind's still there. You need to remind them where you're at. So you're just going to put together a 2-year plan, and the 2-year plan should be really high level. It should basically show, here are the assumptions that we're building to grow this business, and here's how we think that will play out. Here's the team members that we want to hire. Here's how much we think it'll all cost. Here's how much we think we can grow the revenue or the business or the user base, whatever is sort of like your top line metric. Now, when it comes to building projections for fundraising, just one quick tip. The more realistic your projections, i.e. you think they are a slam dunk, the less likely the VC is to invest, because they want to invest in the best case scenario. So when you're building your projections, you want to be showing kind of your best case scenario. However, one thing that can happen is if you go too crazy and your projections are like 10 times better than you think you actually can do, the VC may invest and then they're going to be really upset when you don't hit your metrics. You miss everything. And so there's always this sort of dance of like showing really realistic projections versus showing absolutely unrealistic projections that may get you the check today, but cause a lot of headaches later. What I recommend is just show the best case. Maybe there's a 30% chance that you hit that best case, but there's a really high likelihood that you get somewhere in the realm of that best case. That's usually sort of the ideal state of projections that you want to be showing when you're pitching. So there it is. That's the 8-slide pitch deck that will help you nail your seed fundraising. But there's one more section that's super important, and it's the appendix. The appendix is actually all the slides that couldn't fit in the 8-slide deck. And the way you want to think about your appendix is it's basically a list of slides that answer specific questions the VC might have. So when you first start fundraising, you probably won't have a very thick appendix. You might have 1 or 2 questions that you think might come up. Over time, what you'll find is that you start to get the same common questions. And rather than just answering them verbally, what I like to do is say, hey, that's a great question. Actually, let me flip to this slide and I'll show you exactly how we solve that or how we think about that. It really impresses the VC when it's almost like you can read their mind and know what they might second guess and just flip to a slide to show them. So often by the time I'm done with like a 30-40 meeting fundraise, I might have my still 8 slides, but I might have 15-20 slides in my appendix just to show, hey, any question you ask, I've thought of, I have an answer for, I have a slide to show you. The appendix is what really separates you apart from the average fundraiser and the pros that get it done every time. And one more tip on the order of slides. The order of slides that I've presented today, problem, solution, business metrics, business model, market size, etc. That is sort of the default slide order that I would use. If there's no reason to break that order, just go with that. However, in some cases, you may want to shift some things around. If you have one slide that is particularly strong, you want to start with that. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're doing an AI startup, but your team was all distinguished engineers at OpenAI before starting this company. Well, you don't want to bury that 7 slides in. You want to move that to the very first slide. So you say, listen, before we start, let me tell you a little bit about our team. Here's our backgrounds, and you're going to really wow the VC and hook them in. Similarly, maybe your team's not that impressive, but your business is cranking, your revenue is growing so fast. You're gonna take that business metric slide and move that forward. And you're gonna say, listen, before we jump in, I wanna talk about what we're most proud of, which is the business itself. Look at the revenue growth, and then let me talk about what we're doing and how we got here. You can change the order of slides if you have something that really stands out as impressive, but if there's no super strong slide that obviously deserves to be front, just go with the order I sent here. It works 90% of the time. Now, like I said earlier, fundraising can be make or break based on the design of your deck. These slides are the perfect start to get you going, but if you want to learn more, check out this video I just filmed on 7 golden rules for pitch deck design. Just click the link and I'll see you over there.